it to the 34-yard line. They throw it, and it's
ball game, baby.
Ground.
Let's go.
Ball game.
Hail to Pitt.
Ball game. Hail to Pitt. Look at those Panthers celebrate, and the Pitt fans celebrate as well. One of the greatest comebacks in the history of University of Pittsburgh football we have witnessed at Nippert Stadium today.
Hey, Cincinnati. Hey, student section. I heard a lot of eat, you know what, Pitt. Eat that.
That gets me every single time. Pat Bostic, eat that. Biggest comeback for Pitt since, I believe, 1971. And we're joined right now by the head coach of the Pitt Panthers, Pat Narduzzi. Big game this weekend. Hell of a win last weekend. Congratulations on that dub, Coach, and appreciate you jumping on. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Adam. I appreciate it. That was a long time ago. We're moving on to the next, obviously, with that big one this weekend at 3:30, at Acrisure Stadium. So we're excited and moving on.
I would imagine, though, that game gave you guys confidence that you're never out of a ball game. And I got to imagine, Pat, that you got a lot of confidence in that quarterback, too.
No doubt about it. We got a lot of confidence in the O-line, the running backs, whatever it may be. But it does help you, obviously win that football game. It does give your football team confidence that regardless of what happens, sometimes, you're preaching as a coach, if we're down 7, you got some of those guys got looks in their eyes like, okay, coach, there was probably some of those points last year. And now I think they know that, hey, anything can happen. We can do it. And, if you can come back 21, you can do anything.
Is that something that you have in a group before the year, or do you have to experience it to know, okay, I've got a group that's never going to shy away from that moment?
No, you don't. You never know until the moment, and sometimes you don't get the moment to find out if you have that or not. But you don't know going into a season if your guys are going to buy in like that, think like that. I think every team's a little bit different. Everybody's got a little different chemistry, and you certainly didn't think last year's team would have been like that, and you hope you have something a little bit different this year.
You mentioned the big one, 3:30 Backyard Brawl. Now, you've coached this game twice between these two teams. What's the biggest thing you might have learned or that may have surprised you that you didn't know before the rivalry got renewed here?
I'd say, there's really nothing. I mean, the biggest difference between this rivalry and some other great rivalries I've been in the past is, there's no trophy. You're playing for nothing. You're playing for, the bragging rights in the area of Western Pennsylvania. I think that's really all you play for. So to me, it becomes even a tougher rivalry. We're not playing for a toy or a piece of wood, a piece of metal. We're playing for the game, the way it should be played. So I love it. I love that it's a blue collar rivalry like that we're not playing for a trophy and but there's really nothing. I mean, rivalries are rivalries. I think when the big ones like this one, and I've played in a big one in the past that for 8 years at Michigan State, and this one's just like it. And you got to treat it the same.
So you say you treat the rivalry the same. Did you have to juice guys up for the rivalry before the game 2 years ago, and maybe they'd understand it more now with a lot of the guys having played through it?
No, I think your rivalries are built, and I think you can juice them up all you want. I don't think that really matters. I think once the game starts,
Sure.
And I think you forget about any of that juice you ever had or thought you had. If your mind isn't right going into that game and you don't have the right mindset, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, I want to teach our guys what it is and what happens, and I think probably the best thing that could ever happen to you is you go down and have an outcome like you did last year. I think that's when you realize the real rivalry. I think if you're 5-0 in the rivalry, and the younger kids aren't going to buy into it being a rivalry, it doesn't become a rivalry until you take one in the LCOM, and then your guys start to understand. The whole program starts to understand what a rivalry is.
Pat Narduzzi joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. How did the hiring of, and I know you've talked about this before, but how did the hiring of Cade Bell come to be? I've brought this up. Like Mike Gundy used to say, hey, if we need a new coordinator, I'm going either FCS level or I'm looking and I'm seeing, okay, who led that level in scoring? Who led that level in points? I'm going to put my finger down on a piece of paper and I'm going to bring that guy in. I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but how did that all go down?
Yeah, it's more complicated, but, it comes down to that right there. I mean, like, who's having success? But just because they're having success doesn't mean they're a fit for you and what your players do and who you are as a program. So, it had to come down to, hey, who's having success? And then do they fit you? Do they fit your personality? Can you get along with them as a head coach? And, all those things and again, Cade Bell's a perfect fit. I mean, I feel like we're brothers already. I mean, in this office, just you laugh, you have fun, and you work your tail off. And that's it's a brotherhood in here. And we spend so many hours together. You're talking, 17, 18 hours a day. You're in here working on stuff. And I think, I think it comes down to, just the brotherhood in here, and you better feel good with them. But, you better first have the stuff on the field. And then it comes down to, it's not like we looked at one guy for that position. He was the perfect guy for this spot.
Now, my understanding, he doesn't script plays at practice, correct? I mean, how unconventional is that, and how does that help your defense and you practice defense kind of having to react on the fly?
Yeah, it doesn't help your defense at all, and I think, the main reason for scripting plays, in a practice, I'd always like scripting because I didn't want to run, 3 of the same defense versus 3 of the same type of play. Like I always wanted to get variety so I could teach off of the tape. So it really hurts the defense because we don't know what we're going to get, and you're just kind of winging it. When you go out to practice, I mean, it's easier because you don't have to script because it takes a long time to script and get exactly what you want. But that's what scripting is. It's like I want to script it the perfect scenario. I want to run this defense versus this play. So it really doesn't help the defensive ball at all. But and again, I think a lot of tempo teams around the country do it now. I would say half the country probably doesn't script. I don't know. They just call it. And again, I think, there's some beauty to the play calling. We used to always have, when I was at Michigan State as the D coordinator, we'd have periods where Coach D'Antonio would say, hey, don't, no scripting, just it's a call it period. We didn't have many of them, but we did, maybe 10 during camp. And it was just a 10-minute period where you didn't know anything. You had to check the personnel coming in the huddle, check all those things. So I think it's unique in the way he does it. And but again, I think it's that creativity that he can spit it out fast, and he better be when you're snapping the ball quick.
Last thing here for you, Pat, and I know that when I talked about Eli Holstein earlier, you mentioned the offensive line playing well, all the weapons at disposal. Running back seems to be quite good, just what I've seen. But as far as Eli is concerned, not super great in the first half, unbelievably good in the second half. Kenny Pickett, freshman, beats number 2 Miami. Does Eli have any similar, maybe off-the-field traits that a guy like Kenny has that maybe you think, okay, it predicts greatness here?
Yeah, I don't want to predict that yet. We're into 2 games and going into number 3. I think at the end of the year we can make comparisons and all that, but I don't want to do that to him. I think it's a one game at a time. I just want to focus in on the present, focusing on West Virginia at 3:30 on Saturday, and you guys in the media, you guys can talk about comparisons. I'll let you guys. How many hours are you on the radio today? I'll let you for your 6 hours on the radio today. You guys can talk about that, and we'll focus on who he is. He's Eli Holstein, and I want him to be Eli Holstein.
Pat Narduzzi, big game coming up at 3:30 on Saturday, and I think for both fan bases, it's either the best day of the year or the worst day of the year. I know you've got a lot of preparation still that you're doing, Coach, so appreciate you coming on, and best of luck on Saturday.
You got it, Adam. I appreciate you having me on, and hail to Pitt, buddy.
Take care now. Good luck.
Thank you.
Pat Narduzzi, really appreciate him coming on. It's a busy week.